there! We are going to present our quality management project. Our group consists of Bao, Matt, Nathan, Andrew, Dylan, Mitchell, Stephen, and myself, and we went to the Cellar. The reason why we went to the Cellar is that in comparison to last year, the Cellar is facing a decline in customer satisfaction, and that led to a revenue loss of 5%. Therefore, we developed our goal statement, which is we want to raise the customer satisfaction from 4.5 out of 5 to at least 4. Our goal statement is to raise the customer satisfaction from 4.2 out of 5 to at least 4.5 out of 5 within the next 6 months. As a first step, we developed a side POC, and I'm not going to go through all those points. I'm only focusing on the process steps, what's critical to quality, and the desired customer experience. So we defined as a first step that we have to decide where to go. Thereby it's critical to the quality where we go, like the location and the price. Our desired customer experience was that we have a good pricing and that it's relatively close because a lot of us don't have cars. The next process step is that we arrive, get greeted, and seated. Critical to quality for this step is to find a parking, find the restaurant, get the table, and the hospitality there. What we expected was that we are satisfied with the parking, that we are happy if we find the location, and that we are comforted. The third step in the process is that we order food and drinks. And critical hereby is the variety, then the server attitude, so that the waiter is nice, the availability of food, and the timely service. And what we expected was that we are satisfied with the menu, that it's a timely service, and that we are pleased. The next step would be that we receive the food and drinks. Hereby we defined as critical to receive the correct order, the quality of the food, the timely service, and again the server attentiveness. And what we expected was that we have the correct delivery, that we're satisfied, full, and happy. And the last step in our process is that we pay the bill and leave. And hereby it's critical that we have a fair price and that we can pay quickly and thereby then leave afterwards. And what we expected is that we are satisfied with the price of the food and that we're pleased.
Hi there, my name is Jason, and I'll be taking over for Simone for the baseline performance and capability analysis. So for our baseline performance, we've conducted a survey after we had our meal at the Cellar, including some topics of hospitality, which include friendly service, server attitude, communication, cleanliness, general cleanliness, menu, so is there a healthy option, is it simple, is pricing good or not, wait time for seating and for food, responsiveness, how well they were anticipated, how well they anticipated the guests, I should say, the quality of the food and beverage, temperature, correct meal and such, the store process, the travel, the payments, server to kitchen communication, and travel to and from the parking, signs to find it, and the location. So as you can see for the graph right here, baseline performance, throughout each category, we've only had 2 tests that were statistically different based on an ANOVA, which was the travel to and from category and the cleanliness category, which is what we'll be focusing mostly on throughout our analysis. So a little more of the baseline performance. As shown, the highest category rated was hospitality. We had a really good experience with the server we had. And what's shown as the lowest is the travel to and from, which was mostly scored based on the 3 subcategories: parkings, mostly signs to find it, because it's kind of hard to find the Cellar if you're not from the area. It falls into location. Now just simple pair 2 analysis to show the largest issues facing the company, which is the Cellar. So in this case, it shows the relative ratings for every evaluation based on the survey ranking, or the survey ranking. So what it basically shows is that since there's a lot of 5s, which is good, we have a large category of 4s and 3s, so it shows the opportunity for improvement that they have to be able to reach the goal of being at an average of 4.5 based on, or versus the 4.2, which they're at now, which we'll be seeing in the next slide. So from here, we've made a capability analysis where we've set the lower spec limit as a 4 or 80%, and the higher spec limit as the top you get, which is 100%. So as you can see here, our average was deemed to be 4.2, so overall it was good, but there's still definitely room for improvement. as shown through the capability analysis, which found the value of 0.12 for the CPK, which is much less than the given 1.2 value. So the process is currently not capable based on our defined spec limit, which is, once again, room for improvement for us to come in and help them out.
All right, so now I'll talk about the detailed process flow diagram. As you can see, for the processes, we took these straight from the SciPoc, so they're all the same. We have all of our attributes that are critical to quality here, and we have our detailed process steps here at the bottom. Now, for each step, I'll detail where there is waste that can be removed from their process. Now, here in deciding where to go, there wasn't much waste. We were able to decide where to go very quickly based on reviews from students that have been there and our own past experiences. Now, arriving and getting greeted and seated, we have one instance of waste, and that's finding the restaurant. Now, finding the restaurant was not very difficult for us, but we knew where the restaurant was. But if we put ourselves in the shoes of someone else, it would be very difficult to find. This is also stated by the baseline performance diagram. Now, the next instance of waste is in the order food and drinks process. And now you can see ordering the drinks was a waste. This is because when we ordered our drinks, the wrong order was taken, and this takes the form of a waste that can be removed and corrected. And now receiving food and drinks. The first waste is receiving the food. It took a very long time and we were waiting a lot. This is a waste that can be removed. And also eating the food. We were given an overproduction of food, so more food than we could really eat. So this could be stepped off in order to correct this overproduction of food. Now, paying the bill and leave we deemed as very efficient. So there wasn't much waste that we could account for in this process.
I conducted the Fishbone diagram analysis to find underlying problems that were found in the customer satisfaction. So this was based off of 5 different categories, which were the environment, machines, materials, methods, and people. And instead of going through every single branch of the diagram, that'd be too long and cumbersome. I'm just going to look at 3 different examples. The first one was the music under the environment category. We found as a group that the music didn't really meet the attitude or the environment in the cellar. So possibly they could conduct a survey within the goers of the cellar to see what music would more properly fit. Next one would be under machines, and more specifically bar appliances. We could found that some of the service, especially with drinks, could be slower, and from past experiences you can find them more busy nights to be extremely slow. So possibly adding more appliances or even faster and better appliances could increase sales and customer satisfaction in general. And finally, under the methods category, just with our experience, we found that there was an error when ordering a drink in particular, and this could maybe stem back to staff training and how orders are taken, and instead of just committing them to memory, perhaps writing them down or recording them in another fashion.
Okay, hi, I'm Nathan. I'm going to be talking about our summary of the just do it's and the potential X's. So as you can see here, we have a 9-square diagram listing the impacts and the difficulty of each thing. So as you can see in the 9-square diagram, we noticed most of our problems per se were found to be of low difficulty to change, which is actually really good news because even some that would have high impact would be low difficulty to change and have better experience while we're at the cellar. Yeah, these next 2 diagrams here are just a different way to explain everything that we had put into the 9-square diagram. So we chose 2 potential X's here, the timely service and quality of food, and we had to come up with ways of measuring it, and how the data was going to be collected, the frequency of the collection, who was going to collect the data, and how the data was going to be stored. So for timely service, we explained that the time between placing the order and receiving the order would be your measurement. The time between placing your order and actually getting your drink or your food would be collected. We said about every second person or so we would get to collect this data, and the wait staff would be the ones that would collect the data and then eventually put it into an Excel program. And somewhere along the same lines for the quality of food as well, we'll do a customer survey. So the answers would be somewhere along the lines of very good, okay, or just not good at all. We would like for every customer to partake in this survey. The wait staff would collect the data again and plug it into an Excel program.
Hey guys, I'm Bob, and I'm gonna talk about the improvement plans. And we have 6 problems in total, and I'm gonna talk 3 examples. The first one is a correct order, and we have some idea that wait staff has to write everything down. Self-checkout, wait staff refreshes every order to ensure correct. And it's have some risk for these ideas, because self-checkout they may lose some customers. And the second one should be getting a table. And if we gonna rearrange the room and we have additional stuff to rearrange the table, we probably gonna close some part of the restaurant or a section of the restaurant. So that also have some risk to lose the customer. And the last one is finding the restaurant. If we the sign for the restaurant is not so good, and we need to improve the sign inside of the sub, and it's already talked about in the other part of the PowerPoint, and there's no risk for this one.
All right, so for our improvement plan, to implement this, we're going to have to deal with the 6 issues that we identified earlier. The first one we'll look at is the correct order. So the responsibility on this one lays on the wait staff, and we plan to implement this immediately. So once this is done, this will be an ongoing event. This will always be going. And the reason we want to focus on this is because waitresses aren't always taking down, waiters aren't always taking down the orders, and it's easy to forget one order out of a large amount of orders, and this is something that we should and is very easy to fix. The next issue we had is finding the restaurant. So an action to improve this would be to improve the signage around campus, or even post things on social media such as Facebook, and this should be the responsibility of the owner of the cellar. We plan to start this just after the fall term, so in the winter of 2017. And comments about this one would be, it's hard for anybody who isn't a student or who's in around the university a lot to find the cellar because it's in the basement and it's hidden away.
Fuzzy.
All right, so the final issue is the issue of getting a table. So some actions we could do to rectify this would be rearranging the room or increasing the size of the cellar. So this responsibility would lay on the owner of the cellar, but also the wait staff. And we plan to do this over the Christmas holiday so that it's ready before the start of the winter term in 2017. And one thing we can do to improve this would be to optimize the arrangement of the tables and the bars in the cellar to get the most amount of customers in there at one time.
Hi, I'm Steven. I'm going to talk about we develop and implement a control plan, because when you implement an improvement, you want to also have a control plan to ensure that this improvement actually does improve what you're trying to accomplish, and that it actually stays in place and doesn't just kind of, I guess, fall apart as soon as you implement it. And so then for our control plan, again, we looked at the 6 main processes. However, I'm going to focus on the 3 that have been discussed previously, such as the correct order. The best way to measure it would be to track complaints. You could have an honor system, but I would assume most wait staff don't want to admit to when they've messed up and when they've made an error. So they could collect daily complaints if there are any, and the manager would collect the data, and it would just be stored in the owner's records on his computer or in an Excel file. The other one is finding the restaurant. This can be done to see, if surveys can be performed to see if people actually know where the cellar is, if they have difficulty finding it, or if they think improvement should be made for the signage. And it can be done semi-annually to see if there actually is an improvement of the target people that actually know where the cellar is and find it easy to find. Again, the owner or even manager could collect this survey data, and the owner would just keep it in an Excel file on his records to track the improvement. And finally, for getting a table, it would be measured in wait times, and data collected would be a duration of wait or queue length of lines. This, if the cellar's really busy, they might not be able to track it during operation, so they can also go back and watch their camera feeds to just keep an eye and track that if there are people waiting for extended durations or if there's long queues being built up. And again, the owner's manager would keep track of it and just keep it in a record in an Excel file or on the computer.
Closing time, open all the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time.